Good afternoon and thanks for coming today. The Calgary Police Service Drug Unit has charged one man with 17 drug-related offences following the seizure of approximately $20,000 worth of drugs and a number of weapons. Following a 4-week investigation, on Wednesday, May 20th, 2015, officers from the Drug Unit and Tactical Unit executed a search warrant in the 9,000 block of Athens Road S.E in the community of Acadia. Among drugs and weapons, investigators found evidence of a small production lab for the purpose of producing cannabis resin using the butane extraction method. This is an extremely unstable process that has the potential to explode very easily. The presence of this lab posed a large risk to public safety. During the search, police also seized a large amount of drugs including cocaine, fentanyl, marijuana, cannabis resin, oxycodone, and methamphetamine, Canadian currency, silver coins and bars, and a large number of weapons and ammunition. Chad Hunter, 29 of Calgary, has been charged with 3 counts of trafficking cocaine, 5 counts of proceeds of crime, 8 counts of possession for the purpose of trafficking, and 1 count of production of cannabis resin. Mr. Hunter's next court date is scheduled for Friday, June 12th.
Drugs aside, that's a huge seizure for such a small amount of money.
Absolutely, and one of the disturbing trends we're seeing in our city is the amount of firearms. And you're absolutely right. We have some replica firearms that were seized, but also some real real weapons that pose a danger to public safety.
Like a mounted sniper rifle. How often do you see one of these in a residential home?
That is obviously rare, something we're very concerned about. And as we know from some of the violence we've seen recently in Calgary, this is a priority for the police service.
Can you talk a little bit about your investigation and what exactly led you to Mr. Hunter and the residents in Acadia?
Sure. We received information from the public that led us to conduct an investigation on the accused. Following 4 weeks of investigation, we had sufficient grounds to execute a search warrant at his place of residence, which resulted in the seizure that you'll see in front of me. One of the main concerns that we had with this seizure was obviously there was an active butane lab that was producing honey oil. And butane is an extremely flammable liquid, and the slightest spark or power source can trigger an explosion in a non-ventilated area.
How would you classify the significance of this find or the expertise? Is this a big operation, small operation, or where exactly does this kind of come into play?
As far as the scale of this operation, it is on the smaller side. The challenge is, as you see, access to firearms. That's our first priority. The other major concern is the butane extraction lab, which is extremely flammable and poses a significant risk to the public.
What's honey oil?
Honey oil is the THC that's extracted from marijuana. It forms a resin, and it's becoming popular in things such as e-cigarettes.
Is this shatter? Like, is this what we hear?
There's another process that would involve turning honey oil into shatter, but it's very close to that.
What's shatter? For those of us who are over 25, what's shatter?
Shatter is also very similar to honey oil in the sense that it has a very high potency of THC. Shatter is more on the solid form of THC, where honey oil is a resin that can, when heated, can be placed into things such as e-cigarettes.
So why do you think there's a spike in this, hash oil? Is it just people are just fed up with smoking marijuana and now they're looking for a better high? Why the spike?
The THC level in honey oil is significantly more higher than a marijuana cigarette. It can also be placed, as I mentioned, in a vapor, and when inhaled, it's actually very odorless, so you don't get that marijuana smell. The challenge is, of course, with the extraction process using butane, is that an explosion could result. And speaking to my analyst, we've had, since the fall of 2014, we've had 3 explosions related to butane labs in our city.
Can you
Sure.
explain a little bit about what some of this stuff related to the butane lab that you have here? I mean, we can see the drugs and the weapons, but what about?
Sure. As you see before you, ground marijuana is placed into the extraction tubes over here. Extraction tubes are either glass, metal, or plastic. The tube is then filled with butane, and then the crystallized resin remains trapped in the butane. So as the butane exits the extraction tube, the butane will eventually evaporate, creating honey oil, especially when heated. So you get the pure, almost pure THC, which can range from 30 to 90% THC. THC in a regular cigarette or marijuana cigarette would be significantly lower.
So you said those 3 explosions, were they from the butane extraction or just butane in general?
Butane itself is a legal substance and it has a very legitimate purpose. The butane extraction process, when butane becomes airborne, it's a very heavy gas, so it lies lower. So for example, a power source like an outlet or a lighter, anything can cause the explosion.
And you said those 3 explosions were from 2015 alone, or sorry, maybe just clarify that.
Yeah, the 3 explosions, we had 2 in the fall of 2014 and 1 in February of 2015 that we can relate to butane extraction process. Speaking to our partners in other provinces, especially British Columbia, this extraction process is becoming more popular. I was at a meeting a month ago in which the DEA was at as well, and they're seeing this extraction method become very popular in the United States as well.
In the overall picture, it's still very street level though.
Sorry?
In the overall sort of drug, it's very street level.
Very street level. Our concern is that this extraction process is occurring in residential areas, which could result in an explosion, not only affecting the house where, of course, the butane's being used to extract the THC, but neighboring properties.
So these are big explosions.
These are big explosions,
Is it just,
depending on how much butane is
are they
obviously.
just very, is it combustible, not very, like?
So it's the gas when
Yeah.
so when the butane's going through the extraction process, when the butane becomes airborne. So a butane canister away from a power source isn't going to cause any problems. The problem is the extraction process.
So how much butane was at this residence?
Let's check here for the exact amount. It was a fairly significant amount, I believe. I have some investigators in the back I could ask. But it was a box, right?
It was a box,
How many canisters were in there?
say roughly 50 large.
Okay, 15?
50.
Oh, so 5. So in this particular instance, there was 50 canisters of butane. So you have to ask yourself, why would in a residential setting, why would you need 50 canisters of butane?
What's happened to the house now?
Sorry?
Is the house like condemned now, or is it just like?
In this particular instance, this house has not been condemned. However, in other instances where fires have occurred, the one in February, the house was condemned, or it was actually knocked down.
Can you just kind of describe the neighborhood, I mean, that this was founded?
It was in a quiet residential area in the southeast community of Acadia.
Was the man charged the homeowner?
Just checking this one here. I'm going to call him a resident.
Was he known to police before this?
Can't comment on knowledge of police.
What about organized crime ties? Like even though you said it's a pretty small street level operation, there's gold coins, rifles. Is this connected to organized crime?
Well, drug trafficking in its very nature is organized crime. Is this particular lab at the highest level? I would say no. But when any time someone's in possession of firearms, as you see before me, there's a significant risk to the public.
Did this guy act alone?
Through our investigation, he acted by himself.
Any more questions?
Is there, maybe just one last question, is there anything that maybe the public can notice, they may notice that there may be anything?
Yeah, so unlike a traditional marijuana grow, you're not going to see some of the telltale signs outside. One of the things to concentrate on is if you see individuals carrying large quantities of butane. Also, you do need to start off with ground marijuana, so there might be a smell from that. High level of traffic going to and from the house if the person's distributing drugs from their residence. We encourage anyone with information to contact Crime Stoppers or our drug tip line, and I can give that information out. I think it's on the release. Do you have that, Amy, handy?
No, it's on the release.
Okay, it's on the release. Also, if you do go on to, for example, Butane, the extraction process, there's numerous videos on there that show the entire process of butane extraction, and you'll get a sense on how volatile this extraction process is.